right here in LA County is the.
What about it? What?
They summon demons all the time.
LA County has evil that
So
you
many
don't
ritualistic.
even-
Yeah. Oh, it's disgusting.
Like
Wait.
Bohemian Grove, bro.
Wait, LA County is loaded with like demonism and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Do you know how many
yeah.
rappers literally in their mansions have parties in their basements and they summon demons? This is a
They sell their souls, bro.
selling your soul to the devil is an actual ceremony.
Wait, is this like a real thing, Dan?
Absolutely 100%
Okay,
real.
we're talking about it. That's what we're talking about.
Nicki
This is what
Minaj
we're
has a
talking about.
guardian demon who writes her music with her, and the guardian demon's name is Roman.
What?
She
So
openly
that I
admits it.
didn't know.
What?
But I
In every single Nicki Minaj song, she says, "I'm Roman." And one time in an interview, sat down and asked her, and she's like, "Who is Roman?" It's like, "Oh, Roman's a little man who lives inside of my head." And it's like she goes into it's creepy, dude. It's
Yeah.
creepy. Similar to Aleister Crowley and Alwys, the spirit he's someone who helped him dictate that book.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The book of the law.
Well, okay, fine. Well, I guess here we go. So,
Aleister Crowley.
welcome to Midnight Mormons. Apparently, we broadcast from the satanic capital of the world. The satanic panic in the 1980s apparently wasn't enough. And we've got pop stars summoning demons in the basements like 3 blocks away from our studio here. To tell us all about it is Dan Ellsworth, editor-in-chief of don'tbeasatanist.com. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what you are, dog. You can introduce yourself once we throw to you. But is what he's saying real, Dan? What's going on?
Yeah. So Satanism is real, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So everybody freaked out a few months ago when there was a satanic group at the Utah Pride Parade, right? And they were like,
Oh, yeah,
"We're gonna
doing
do
unbaptisms.
With a
unbaptism."
blood ritual, right?
Yeah. So if you know what Satanism is, that's not shocking at all that they would be doing that. I wasn't surprised or shocked or anything.
Okay.
So it
I
goes
was a
way
little
back.
shocked.
Like modern Satanism that we talk about, like that satanic group, the Satanic Temple, and those, they have kind of a godfather. And Kwaku mentioned him a little while ago on one of these episodes. His name is Aleister Crowley. So Kwaku,
Wait, this guy,
tell
he's
us-
the guy with the weird little picture like that, right?
You know what's really funny, actually?
That's Baphomet.
Dan, when I was kind of going through my mind explosion, I don't know what to call it, my like awakening, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
From 3 Mormons to now, there's a very clear difference of a worldview, right? The first time I read, like I was reading about a bunch of this stuff, the name Aleister Crowley, the first time it popped up, I read his name and I got the creepiest feeling ever. And it was like literally just hit. I knew nothing about him, but I knew who was bad news. Just because of his name, I got the shivers and I was like, oh, this guy's evil. And I was like, he's worse than I thought. Oh, he's worse than I thought that I thought. Like he just continuously
Just
bad.
continues.
Yeah.
Okay. What am I missing out on? Fill us in. Dan, keep going.
So he's considered kind of the godfather of modern Satanism. And there's
Okay.
an interesting, so he lived, in the 1800s. I can't remember what time frame it was, but he,
I thought it was like the
He-
1920s down in like Pasadena and stuff, right?
yeah, you're right.
I
Sorry.
think it was like late, like 1890s into the 20th century. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, cool.
Right,
Keep
right.
going.
Yeah, so he had an interesting, I've read actually too much about him. It's kind of twisted.
Me
but-
too, bro.
So one of the interesting things about his story is he tried to take over a Masonic temple at one point.
Really?
Whoa.
Yeah. There was a big Masonic lodge, I guess, in Paris. And
Kinda
he
based.
walked in. What was that?
Which is kind of based. I'm not gonna lie. If you can take over, that's kind of BA, you know.
Yeah. So he walked in and he said, I need you to acknowledge my authority. And they freaked out. They're like, no, you haven't been through our rites and our steps and whatever. And he was like, no, you have to acknowledge my authority. And he lost that power struggle with them. Okay, so
Wait, so you're saying that the Knights Templars residual organization of the Freemasons, like just like my dad can beat up your dad, you're saying that the Freemasons were able to beat up the Aleister Crowley guy.
yeah, Aleister Crowley lost this power struggle. He basically came in almost like he had a priesthood of his own, and you guys need to recognize it, and they wouldn't. And it turned into this ugly clash. He ended up leaving and going into some other organizations that were dabbling in the occult. And then he went to Egypt. I believe that was where he received kind of a weird revelation kind of communication.
Like a satanic first vision? Like what?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah. He received a communication that he called the Book of the Law. Okay. And he said there were some, non-human beings who communicated this thing to him. So the Book of the Law is basically a manual for self-worship. One of the things that it says is, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Okay.
Wow.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Dude.
Yeah. So he kind of built some belief systems around that. One of them is called Thelema. Okay. And
Wait,
Thelema is
Thelema?
Yeah.
Did
Thelema
he just
is,
like break up with a chick named Thelma and want to get back at her, or like what? Thelema?
Thelema is the Greek word for self.
Okay.
Okay. Self. And this is where, when you talk about what modern Satanism is, a lot of people have freaked out over the years. Oh, it's these weird rituals and stuff like that. That's part of it. But at its root, it's Aleister Crowley teaching these core principles of self-worship.
I thought it was just socially awkward people that haven't seen sun in a long time and like to vape in order to, cope with life. Just getting together and
weird,
doing weirdo
like
things.
mustache kind of things, and they live in their mom's basement and stuff.
I feel like the people that did sword fighting in the quad at BYU that didn't have a religion that told them that they had infinite worth would just descend into this kind of LARPing we now call Satanism.
Where they, for some reason, wear fedoras.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. So you're saying there's actually like, not academic, but some kind of institutional legitimacy behind this based upon this Aleister Crowley guy. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah, so Aleister Crowley, his ideas kind of formed the basis for modern Satanism.
Okay.
Now his
is it in the
beliefs-
church now though, dog? Like they're doing this stuff now, unbaptizing people in bloodbaths and weird stuff like that while vaping. You know what I'm saying? So, keep
what
going.
is that? What is that unbaptism though? All it's doing is saying you need to do whatever you want.
Yeah, you're no longer Christ's. We're formalizing that you are no longer giving yourself to Christ, but you're giving yourself to yourself.
Yeah, the only valid consideration is your desire. That's it. That is the core of modern Satanism.
Wow.
That's it.
But isn't that basically just the core of modern hedonism? Not even modern, is it just hedonism?
Yeah.
Just go after what you want and boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this belief system, Thelema, they have some principles, and one of them is that do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. And another one of their core principles is kind of interesting. It says we are all stars. Okay. And what does that mean? Like we're stars. Well, what they're saying is stars up in the universe, they don't interfere with each other. They're kind of off on their own. And that's how everybody should be. Nobody should tell me what to do ever. Nobody
That's
should
literally
interfere.
C.S. Lewis's definition of hell in The Great Divorce.
Yes, it is.
And it's the celestial
Absolutely.
kingdom.
So, which is the glory of the
Stars.
So they're just telestialists.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it.
Well, then that just means it's like quadruple A baseball or double A baseball, man. And we can't be knocking on these people, They just got to made it up to the minor leagues yet, Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So this is the core of it. But during the 1980s, when I was a kid, there was a satanic panic. And that was where people were freaking out about, like in popular music, Satanism with Led Zeppelin and Kiss and some other groups. They were saying, oh, they're satanic.
And were these groups like somehow affiliated with Aleister Crowley or
so
like
Led
were they
Zeppelin
studying his
was.
stuff? Really?
Led Zeppelin was, yeah. So
wait, what'd they do?
Jimmy Page, the guitarist for Led Zeppelin, he got really into Aleister Crowley. And he, they weren't, in Led Zeppelin's albums, they weren't saying, oh, worship Satan. But they had like engraven on some of their on their records, do what thou wilt.
Really?
Right? Yeah. You can actually see that. Yeah. So he got into Aleister Crowley. He bought one of Aleister Crowley's homes. And this is where it gets...
That's where I draw the line. Like, even I start drawing the line at buying the house of the Satanist. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Keep going.
Yeah. So this is where there's a big debate among people who are familiar with Led Zeppelin, because a lot of people have asked Jimmy Page over the years, did you sell your soul to the devil? And they've asked him questions like that. And basically his answer over the years has been, well, they say, were you ever really into the occult? And what he'll do is he'll be kind of evasive and be like, oh, I don't want to give people, I don't want to give Christian groups more reasons to get excited about me. So I'm not really going to go there.
Oh,
that's what he says. He's evasive. He doesn't like confirm or deny those questions.
Well, wouldn't you? Because you want to stay relevant in the 21st century and keep selling albums, dog. I'd do the exact same thing. This guy isn't sounding like a...
There's marketing in the mystery.
Yeah, baby.
Absolutely.
Okay. Keep going.
Absolutely. But there was another thing that happened in the Satanic Panic, and that was this. There were Christian groups who got into this thing called backward masking, and that's where they would take vinyl records and play them backwards. And you would hear just kind of random sounds like Satan, like that. And people would say, oh, they made a song that you play it backwards and you hear the word Satan.
Yeah.
See? They're Satanists, right?
Gotcha.
But reasonable-minded people would see this stuff and be like, oh my gosh, you people are so stupid. Look at these Christian freaks, right? With backward masking stuff.
Yeah.
And even in the church, like a lot of people got swept up in that. Church members, like parents of kids in the church, were coming home from firesides about, satanic music and stuff, and they were breaking all our Led Zeppelin records.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, that happened.
Dude.
Wait, did it happen to you personally, or you just know people?
Yeah.
Wow, hardcore.
Yeah, so...
Names. I want names. Who was doing this? Reverse McCarthyism.
That's the thing. There were different kind of Latter-day Saint pop stars and, musicians who were actually, a lot of what they were saying was true about satanic influence in music. Lex de Azevedo was one of them. Michael Ballum was another.
Our boy? Our Saturday's Warrior boy?
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, what did he do? What did he do?
They would do firesides and kind of know your religion kind of events.
Ironic for Michael Ballum to be doing this.
Wait. So Lex de Azevedo would do like firesides where he brought up like Led Zeppelin albums and just like threw them down on the sacrament table and shattered them, and we all just like bathe in the shards, or like what was going on, dude?
So I don't know exactly what he said to people in those firesides. Now, he does have an article in the Ensign. You can go back and it's from like 1985 or something. You can go back and read it now. And it talks about
look it up, Brad. Put it in the Discord.
Yeah, and if you read it though, you'll probably agree with a lot of what he said. But the problem is, if parents are now fixated on breaking Led Zeppelin records, they're going to miss that little engraving that says "Do what thou wilt." Right.
Well, and they're missing the point. It's not about the physical object. It's about the actual conceptualization behind it. Okay, keep going.
And I guess a question that I have, not to derail this, but so how does "Do what thou wilt" tie into like the selling your soul to the devil thing? you know?
So that's a good question. And this is what I kind of called the head fake of Satanism.
Okay.
So there is this element of Satanism where people do these kinds of rituals like selling your soul. There's a lot of Netflix specials.
Yeah.
There's one on Robert Johnson. That's a good one to watch that kind of talks about that.
Good.
But the problem is, like, if you only focus on that, you'll miss the core of it, which is Satan wants you to worship yourself. People who dive into Satan's influence, they end up just in self-worship. That's what thelema is, right? And so that's why, like, I think when I got home from my mission, that was when I read an article in the LA Times about a satanic group in Los Angeles. And it was one of the satanic temples, I guess. And they had kind of a question and answer with one of the dudes there. And he's like, I don't even believe in Satan. I don't believe in him. I don't believe he's a real thing. I just worship myself. And we sometimes talk about Satan like this mythical person, but we use him as a model of, like, defiance, and doing whatever you want to do. And that's how we talk about Satan.
Oh, wow.
Right. So that's your garden variety, everyday modern Satanism. It's all self-worship. And there's a lot of appeal to it. I personally expect that it's going to grow exponentially in the coming years. Like, it used to be something that people would, yeah. It used to be something people would freak out about. Like,
wait, Kwaku's totally nodding. Why do you think it's going to grow so much, Kwaku?
Well, I mean, we're in the generation of focus on yourself, right?
Literally the you generation.
And so,
and we've destroyed a lot of institutional trust and institutional religion.
Yeah.
So it's going to be all about individualized religion. And if all of a sudden sacrificing on behalf of Jesus Christ and your society at large sounds like a lot of work, why not just descend into, hey, I'm the Jesus Christ that should be worshipped?
Well, it's hedonism.
I worship myself.
Right? It's all about self-pleasure, me, the society.
And narcissism, which is rampant.
Yeah.
Like, all over the place right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like narcissism is the new religion,
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because it's all going to lead somewhere, but when you read about Aleister Crowley's life, you realize that's the most prominent thing about him, is that he was just a selfish bastard. He just was everything was about him, and he would do weird stuff like, okay, so one thing he would do is sex rituals.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, he would. That's a thing. Sex rituals. It's
Brad, you said you wanted to visit his house.
No, I didn't. When do you think I said that?
No, I mean he would have girls drugged up, and like he would have sex with them on an altar, and people would be sitting like around in a circle,
like in like Dan Brown's Angels and Demons and stuff.
Weird crap. The weirdest thing, though, he would have a mirror so he could look at himself the whole time. Like,
well,
that's literally...
What?
I'm not kidding.
No, come on. Like, who doesn't, Brad? I've been to your... You got a large amount of mirrors in your bedroom. It's kind of weird. It's like, no, I totally...
No, but like stuff like that.
What
so,
the
like,
freak is this?
These are... He would do these very bizarre ceremonies, and so... The message that he was preaching that comes from Awis, or whatever, the little stupid angel that talked to him, or whatever.
Right.
Like, all of that information has been trickled down into a kind of an easy, digestible message that the modern self-help industry is sort of pushing out there. And so people don't realize that they're going into a narrative that comes from like the last dispensational prophet of Satanism, right? And so it's in direct defiance with first what God immediately says upon making Adam, and it's not good for man to be alone. And the Crowleyism is, no, you are you. It's all alone. It's all you, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then there's also a difference between sort of the around at the same time there was the I Am movement with Guy Ballard. You know about that, which is like kind of up there in Northern California. Okay. And it was almost like a like everyone needs to find their I am presence, because your I am presence is what God says. I am that I am. And there's a divine purity in that every person needs to understand. When you understand that, you'll be a better person. It was sort of like a flipped version of that, which is like I am versus all me. And Crowleyism is all me. Everything's all me, as opposed to I am a child of God. It's I am God.
I guess, how do you get from do what thou wilt to like these crazy sex rituals that you're talking about? Like what's going on with
It's a
that?
hop, skip, and a jump away. How do I become rich? Do what thou wilt. What should I do? Do whatever you want. Maybe, I don't know, go sacrifice that goat and have sex with the owner. What? Do what you want.
That's it.
Sure. I mean, literally.
I think a lot of those rituals, I don't think they had any actual validity in the universe in any way.
Well,
I think
other
it was just
than
Aleister Crowley
convincing the
doing what he
individual.
wanted to do.
Okay, so it's the sacrament itself is not that ritual. It's him doing what he wants to, which is freaking weird.
I would actually push back a little, and I would say this. He was possessed. So do what thou wilt. Once you accept that, these ideas are coming from an evil entity. So it's do what thou wilt is really do what I say. But Satan obviously isn't going to say that because, he's all about, it's all you. So he plants the idea in you, and you think it's your own idea, and then you're doing his bidding. So it's all Satan does is manipulate. Sounds weird, but I think there is some validity to these things. There's a reason why God wants us to sing hymns of praise. And when you sing a hymn, there's a certain frequency and vibrational pattern that you're putting out, and there's godly ones and there's dark ones. There's a reason why music is a very important part of spirituality, always has been.
Yeah.
And there are certain things you can do to call upon. For example, if you play Juice WRLD or XXX Tentacion or Suicide Boys alone, you feel creepy.
Yeah.
The very first I wanted to
Wait, so do we got a new satanic panic right now? But instead of being Led Zeppelin and Rush
it's
and Kiss,
it's called the 27 Club.
It's now who did you say?
The 27 Club, dude. And
27 Club is a thing. Yeah.
who is the
believe
person?
that? Whoa.
No. Have you not seen the Travis Scott freaking weird?
The whatever he was singing at the concert as they were holding up the dead body.
As they trampled 8 people.
Yeah,
That was a bad look, dude.
and
It was more than a bad look. And the
No, I'm
entrance
saying
to
if you're
his
trying to say you're not satanic, having a pyrotechnic altar up there as people are literally getting what perceives to be ritualistically sacrificed. I don't know.
And by the way, the story is gone. No one talks about the fact that it was 100% clearly a mass sacrifice took place, but he did what Satan wanted him to do, and now the press is gone. He's still torn doing it, So
and the entrance. Have you not seen the way that looks like the freaking Dante's Inferno?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
crazy.
No, 27 Club is real. Basically, there's this cult in Hollywood that if you do this ritual with us, you'll become famous overnight. You'll get all this money, influence. You'll be top of the charts. But come 27, it's time to go, baby. And basically, they do that, and then they sell their souls to the devil, and and becomes 27, they die.
Okay,
Or
so who sold their soul to the devil and then gone when they were 27? Names.
Kurt Cobain.
You think Kurt Cobain was in the 27 Club?
A lot of people say Kurt Cobain was. Some people say
Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix.
Okay,
Jim
but
Morrison.
now
How old is Tupac when he died? He was early 20s, right?
Okay, well, here's my only beef with this, man. Okay, hold on.
This is a conspiracy, to be fair.
No,
This is why we're getting into the fun stuff.
Hold on.
But
Okay, so how many artists actually make it through Hollywood in any given year? It'll blow your mind how many artists you can actually name if you had to. And let's just say 500 of them get on the Billboard 500 or 100 or whatever it is. What's the chance of a young artistic person who's probably not good at making decisions, might have a mental illness, and without proper spiritual or physical intervention probably begins to self-medicate in a way to handle the stresses of the industry and his own creativity? What's the chances that in any given year, one of them that's famous dies at the age of 27? I think actually pretty good. So is that because there's a 27 club of people that have sold their soul to the devil, or just that maybe the standard deviation of deaths of young artists in Hollywood is that high? Because let me tell you, nobody's listening to the old artists. There's not 87-year-old rappers out there that are selling albums. There's not 50-year-old rappers out there besides besides maybe Snoop Dogg, who was already famous in his 20s, selling albums out there, okay, and he's still alive. So, I mean, this 27 Club, just because we can name 6 artists that died at 27, does that really mean there's a club?
No, there's way more than 6. And the thing, so here's the conspiracy, okay?
Okay.
That they do it, 27 Club happens. There are people who want to get out of the contract earlier on, and then they always die immediately and try to get out of the contract. But then there's people like Lil Uzi Vert, who is a part of the 27 Club, but found there's okay. So you know how demons all hate each other, right? Mm-hmm. They're all petty. So apparently there's a way you can reverse it through another form of demonic magic, which is putting a certain crystal, like keeping a certain crystal on your person at all times. So there's a certain crystal that you keep on your person at all times, a certain diamond, where a demon can't like drag you into hell because like he's like they cannot be in the same presence.
Wait, have you heard of this too, Dan? Are you on board with this?
I have not heard of the crystal.
Yeah,
okay, wow.
I know all the other stuff, not this.
Well,
okay.
It's the reason why. Apparently, it's the reason why Lil Uzi Vert had it implanted in his forehead, right in his pineal gland, because he was supposed to go at 27, and he literally had it like surgically implanted into his head.
What the heck?
What?
I never heard of that.
Yeah, no, it's wild. It's very Satanism's huge in rap, by the way. It's huge in rap.
Oh yeah, it is. There's YouTube videos of rappers just openly talking about that in detail. And I had a friend who in LA, he got into the music industry and had some things go well for him, and he kind of stepped away from it after a few years, but I met up with him for lunch. And I just talked with it like, what's your impression?
Dan Ellsworth,
was it fun?
He who has lunch with Satanists who've sold their soul.
No.
All right, so you go from just consulting for the U.S. government to then having lunch with your buddy that happened to casually sell his soul to the devil. All right, cool. You are a government contractor. No, I'm just kidding. Keep going.
No, but I talked with this friend of mine, and I said, how was it to be in the music industry and stuff? And he's like, dude, this is going to sound really weird, but there's Satanism in the music industry. Like, I mean, this is a high school buddy of mine. He's like, I know how weird that sounds, Dan, but this is real. Like, it's not even, I was like, whoa, I did not expect to hear that from his report on the music industry in LA, but that's what he told me.
So what do we do with all this info then? I mean, so we've learned so much in the past 25 minutes here. I mean, my mind is blown. First off, we learned about this Aleister Crowley guy, and the legit formation of Satanism, the doctrine thereof, of
Thelema,
of do what thou wilt, and self-serving, basically hedonism is the MO, the modus operandi. Okay, Kwaku informed us that there's an abuse of this modus operandi that makes a lot of rockers very successful. One 27 Club by name. Apparently there's even anti-rituals to get rid of the ritualistic aspect of this. Now, what do we do with all this info? Like, what do we do with all this, Dan? Like, how does this have to do with us in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Because apparently Lex de Azevedo didn't get rid of it all. You know what I'm saying? So what do we do, man?
So what were you going to say, Kwaku?
Oh, no, I'm listening.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what I would say is watch out for self-worship. I mean, the problem is this was the big head fake. Was, it was like, okay, we don't want Satan's influence in the church. Well, then we need to watch out for people who are calling for weird rituals and stuff. No. Satan's influence in the church is self-worship. It's what it's always been. And when people actually, Kwaku, what he said a minute ago was spot on. Like, people get to a point where they think they are operating totally autonomously. Like, I'm totally free. I do whatever I want. It's me. And when these people actually come together in crowds, you'll notice that they behave the exact same. It's like this. It's like they're programmed like drones.
That's actually what the devil says in my favorite movie that portrays the devil, It's a short film by Tony Scott called Beat the Devil that was BMW infotainment in like the mid to early 2000s. And Gary Oldman portrays the devil, and he comes in talking with James Brown, the famous James Brown before he died. And he says, "Oh, you rock and roll types, you have this cult of individuality, but at the end of the day, you're all the same with your puffy hairdo and your shiny boots." You know what I'm saying? And it's like really hilarious. He says, "You preach a cult of individuality, but at the end of the day, you're all the same." Which
Yes.
I thought was like wildly awesome. So you just literally connected Aleister Crowley with Gary Oldman and Beat the Devil. Something's going on here.
That's the irony of Satanism. People think they're being individuals, and they turn into a herd. They end up all kind of doing the same thing. They turn into mobs of individuals, right? That behave the same way. It's horrifying. So that's what we need to be on guard with in terms of the church, is like, look at self-worship in some of these messages that come forward, especially, and I'm just going to be honest here, among progressives, right? I mean, this
He
comes,
just named them. He just
Yeah,
named
I
names.
did.
Keep going,
I
dog.
did.
Keep going. See, I was
did.
expecting you to start telling exorcism stories and, just giving us wild, like, cast them out. But no, you came in, boom, on a platter with the progressives. Watch out for the
Yeah.
progressives. So keep going, dog.
So the exorcism stories are true as well.
Hey, we'll hit that in another podcast, man. I want to
okay,
hear
good.
about the progressives.
Yeah,
dude.
that'll be crazy.
But yeah, I mean, this is where do not be fooled when people talk about the influence of Satan. Don't think about rituals. I mean, that's part of some elements of Satanism.
So you're
But
saying modern day Satanism in the church isn't the goofy people who are doing bloodbath rituals in the Salt Lake Pride Parade to unbaptize you from the church and all of that glamorous kind of display and shock and awe. You're saying that modern Satanism in the church is progressivism.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I like this guy.
progressives, we have this
You're
thing
good friends
where we talk about, the paradox of internal and external authority. Like, oh my gosh, at one extreme, if I only...
Dude, our buddy Jacob Hansen just got in a lot of trouble for calling out Julie Hanks for this internal versus external authority thing. So
But
you start talking about this.
Wait, did he?
Oh, yeah. Like all of the Progmos came after him big time. You don't remember that?
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, but at one extreme, like if you don't have any internal authority, and this is where I agree with people like Julie Hanks, if you never actually like learn to make decisions for yourself and think for yourself, then you've got idolatry going on, right? You worship church leaders, you worship the scriptures, and you never actually develop your own muscles.
Wait, so the whole De Acevedo family's come full circle now. Lex was there, right, in Saturday's Wire and making Know Your Religion talks saying, break these albums. Well, maybe he didn't say break these albums, but, like, hey, there's Satanism in the church, right? And then now his daughter's coming in with the internal versus external authority argument. We're just getting boom. It's like, it's just like John the Baptist was the cousin of Jesus, was the cousin of, all these other people. Half of the apostles were relatives, right? Now, apparently, during the satanic panic of the 80s, we've come full circle through the De Acevedo family. This is great. Keep going.
Yeah. So if you have too much internal authority, you just worship yourself, and you never, ever, when you watch conference talks and whatever, like you never allow yourself to be challenged. You never accept anything that goes contrary to your views. That's self-worship. That's the other extreme, right? And that is, now both extremes are satanic in a sense. You've got this idolatry on the one hand where you never ever develop any spiritual muscles. Well, then the plan of salvation is being thwarted for you, right?
Because
If you
in
never do
reality, both of these lead to damnation, right?
Yes.
They stop your progress. They inhibit your ability to become anything better than you were.
Right.
They stop you from growing.
Yeah. So there is a good, healthy middle where, you actually respect a lot of your own intuitions because you've been living life and learning and, understanding how the game is played, right? But sometimes, you'll hear a conference talk that really challenges you, and you'll be like, okay, I'm going I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm going to work on it. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to fast and pray.
That was like me watching Uchtdorf this October. Sat there, just grinning and bearing it, knowing the man that he donated to is still elected and might win re-election.
You know what? That's a whole nother episode.
Carton.
I'm sitting there like,
You'll get past it.
You know, and the thing that pissed me off about his last conference talk is he didn't make any aviation analogies, which was the only thing I liked. You know, so keep going.
So if you watch conference and you feel challenged and you feel like, okay, I need to think through this thing that I heard that man, that I don't know how to process that. But then you take the time and work through it, right? Rather than just dismissing it completely. Okay, if you're willing to do that kind of work, then you've got the healthy balance between internal and external authority. But we usually tend toward an idol on one side where we just worship the church, you know, and never actually come to know God, or we worship ourselves and we consider ourselves to be God. So that is like the Aleister Crowley satanic idolatry, right?
Wow, dude. Okay. Well, this has been a tour de force. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we learned all about the birth of Satanism, the whole Aleister Crowley thing. Apparently, I live in the hotbed of this whole thing. There's a house of his that the Led Zeppelin guys bought and might have sold their souls to the devil in order to make albums that Mormon parents that took Lex de Azeveto's Ensign article seriously might have just been breaking in front of our poor guest here, Dan Ellsworth, who is now traumatized and regularly listens to satanic music in order to overcome his childhood trauma. And Kwaku here wants to go visit the house.
No, I'm not going there.
You're not going.
So
Can you imagine
burned down, by the way? That house burned down.
Oh, that's very appropriate.
Is it like Houdini's curse, where like he put a curse on it if somebody tried to trespass and it burst into flames the second somebody tried to rob it, or what?
Oh gosh, if we were to talk about all the stuff that has gone on with that real estate property, that would be a whole nother episode.
Okay, well, when Kwaku's eyes get big like that.
Wait, do you think Houdini was a bad guy?
I don't know about Houdini. I'm talking about Aleister
Aleister
Crowley's
Crowley,
mansion that Jimmy Page bought. And the weird stuff associated with that. That's the property that burned down.
You know what's even crazier, though? You know who's a really big fan of Aleister Crowley?
Who?
L. Ron Hubbard.
I'm so shocked about that.
And you know the crazy...
Whoa,
yeah,
how'd that happen?
L. Ron Hubbard was really... Well, I'm not sure how much he was into... Like, he was into it. He thought it was cool.
Wait, but
then
how are
also,
you an L. Ron Hubbard stan if he was like a huge Aleister Crowley guy?
Well, because, like, you
want your own private army because you're like a little cult king and you want to be able to have your own navy.
Well,
that's what you want.
It's kind of like saying, like you can be a fan of who's a complicated person in history.
Joan of Arc?
George Washington, apparently.
Yeah, you can be a fan of George Washington and also be like, wow, he was great, and also know he was in some
I
weird initiation.
refuse to equate
I know,
George Washington
Look.
in any shape or form with the previous aforementioned people.
Just because I'm not a Mount Vernon cuck, it's fine.
Oh my God.
Cut that out.
That is the hill that I will die on.
No, but
Mount Vernon is the literal hill that I will die on.
but part of Aleister Crowley's magic was also like his rituals were things that Jack Parsons would engage in quite a bit. And Jack Parsons is the father of modern rocket engineering, and it's one of the reasons Jack Parsons actually blew himself up. Committed the S word. Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
This stuff goes far. It implements a lot. Like the web for this is crazy.
Okay,
This is
and
a
just like
rabbit
Dan
hole,
Ellsworth's friend said, you know, there's a ton of Satanism in the music industry. We found out Nicki Minaj is using a boy. There's a 27 club. We got to implant crystals in our foreheads in order to avoid these things. Like, holy smoke! No wonder people think Mormons are crazy.
But the other thing wait, one last thing I'll say though.
Okay.
Oftentimes there's certain like the screamo and hard rock artists are the best for these people. So the reason why so many rappers get in and go out of the whole satanic thing is people that are hard to control are not the best army for the devil. So someone who's easy to control, who is insecure, who is very self-hating, those are going to be the people that are going to continuously do the bidding of the evil one.
Oh my gosh.
A guy from the inner city.
Listen to what he's saying here. Listen.
Yeah,
Oh.
a guy from the inner city who maybe, grew up breaking all the rules of authority anyway, he might take the money and do whatever ceremony, get involved, and then he's going to be like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. And then there's like, okay, we have to kill this guy.
So you're suggesting the way to avoid the curse of Satan if you sell your soul is to be wildly unpredictable and slightly crazy. Is that what you're saying, Dan Ellsworth and Quakuel?
No. But
Okay.
but there is people who are insecure and unfortunately very weak and distrustworthy and things of that nature are easier to control when you put something in front of them, above them, give them money, such and such. And when their worth is rooted in mammon, they're going to be easier to control. When they are rebels.
Cardin,
Yeah, what's up, dog?
just let that sink in, what he just said here. What were the 3 temptations of Christ? Physical
First was-
appetites.
first was food, then was power.
Physical appetites. And what was the second one?
Was power. I'll give you all these kingdoms.
No.
everything you
The
can
second one was go up on this tower of the temple, jump off,
Yeah.
and angels will catch you, and everybody will see it. You'll get recognition,
pride.
attention, validation.
Fulfilling his mission, really.
see. Wait, so
Yeah.
you're saying
Yeah.
Jesus was invited to be in the 27 Club and he said no.
Jesus was invited to become insecure and emotionally needy and whiny and this bottomless pit like Satan is.
Mm-hmm.
That's why what Quaku just said is spot on. Satan wants you to, he doesn't want you to be.
And that's modern progressivism, you say.
In a lot of ways, actually, yes, Cardin. There is a element of insatiability to modern progressivism. You see this in things that's happening online when people are like demanding more and more apologies from people that they're like, hey,
There's never enough.
There's
guys
never enough.
Cardin, have you not seen my depression checks on Twitter? That kind of went like I would do those all the time. Like I would screenshot like a something what someone would say, and it'd be like, at Brad Whitbeck, you were such a cultist piece of crap, blah 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 blah. You suck. Should be ashamed of yourself. I'll screenshot it, and then I'll take their at and I'll type in their at and I'll type in depressed or hate myself, and every single time a bunch of tweets will appear the past year like, I really hate myself right now. Ha ha ha. 2 a.m. having my depressive episode. And I started to notice that hatred, bullying, that whole thing, and oftentimes, every single time, these are people on the far left, are always depressed and insecure and don't like themselves. And those things go hand in hand every single time.
So we can't trust the
that's the
progmos because they
temptation.
might be. We can't trust the progmos because they might be possessed. Is that what we're saying here?
I don't think that progressive religion is always a form of Satanism, but when it takes that assumption of self-worship, right, and makes that its guiding light, that's satanic influence. Now, I'm also going to say that third temptation of Christ, the need for control, is one that we often see in right-wing thinking.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so we need to be aware of that on the right as well.
Okay, interesting. See, what I've noticed is I have 2 pushbacks just on 2 things, 2 modifications.
Okay.
To me, I think it's not necessarily always just self-worship, but worship of a false idol. Because, for example, I believe Satanism can manifest through progressivism in the modern church. And the Daily Wire just wrote an article on this that was intriguing, just like, I think like 2 or 3 days ago. I think you can easily make your righteous desire of providing welfare for other people becoming an obsession with socioeconomic statistics. So much so that socioeconomics can become a false idol. Racial demography can become a false idol. Okay, pushing for acts of equality or whatever can become a false idol.
And I think what you're saying has
Okay.
merit, but I think it all ties back into what Dan is saying, that you're only doing those things as it relates to yourself. How much money you have, how much social quality you have gained, for how much clout you have for being the virtuous person that you are, right? It all ties back into your own selfish view of yourself.
So you're saying that even if it's virtue signaling for one of these other false idols, that indeed that virtue signal benefits yourself. So that is a form of self-aggrandizement. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We're pretty much just making a semantic argument here in which I think I'm right. But you know what I'm saying? Yes, I agree. That's awesome. So Dan, this has blown my mind. I'm afraid to go into Los Angeles now because I'm just so fearful that somebody's going to either invite me into the 27 Club because we're obviously so talented on Midnight Mormons. They want to blow us up and make us the premier podcast in the world. Move aside Joe Rogan. We're selling our souls to the devil. Or, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, what?
Well, it's funny. I actually I think so
you're going to sell your soul to the devil to make our podcast bigger?
No.
I mean, if one of us has to do it, I'm down. I volunteer quick.
By the way, Dan just totally made the worst eye roll and side eye at us. Just like, what are these guys saying?
No, we've never sold our soul to the devil to get podcast views. Dylan already did that, but I think if we if we take an objective look and we see how the left obviously has fallen into this Crowley trap. But also, you mentioned the right, and I think when you kind of look at some of the right wing's figures that they really, really like, okay, I'll say Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay, they're sort of pushing this new pride, it's different from having like a belief that we should have a good righteous people and we should have like pride in our people. We are objectively better than XYZ country.
Or isn't that just defending the last vestiges and last shreds of the social fabric that are left after they've been torn apart?
Well, it depends how you do it.
Yeah, and that could be the valid form of it, but I think Quaker's talking about being turned into a vice.
Yeah, there's a very bad form of it. And that bad form of it manifests itself on like 8chan and 4chan and things like that. And so, it falls into both sides.
Yep.
And people...
I like how we just said earlier in this podcast, don't think it's the album that's bad and go destroy the album. And don't think that by naming the physical object or piece of music that you're doing something righteous. Oh, but 8chan and 4chan. Go destroy those albums. Go burn those books.
Well, Quaker's getting to his point. He's not saying throw those out.
Yeah, I mean, one is very different. One is just a piece of plastic. Like that piece of plastic itself has no merit. The other is a virtual web of information that you log into. Like they're not comparable, but you see where it's going, and all it leads back. All satanic paths lead back to the same place. They can disguise themselves however they want, but right wingers do fall into it. The other one is, and look, as much as I love him. I love Andrew Tate. He's hilarious. Okay? He's so funny. If you understand the joke, he's hilarious. But also, there's this which I enjoy from time to time, the whole raw egg nationalist Andrew Tate like soul bra kind of like new age Jim Bro esoteric like golden age. You know, that new very popular genre that's appearing. Even 90% of that is hedonism too.
Yeah.
90% of that is all about like you are better than others if you look this way and you act this way and you have confidence.
But to me, that's not. To me, you have to be very careful of those labels. That's not right wingism. To me, that's actually just narcissism.
Well, I didn't say it was right wingism.
He's saying this is narcissism in the right wing.
Yeah, and
right?
none of those people are Democrats.
It appears.
It's all like
because like if you were to ask Andrew Tate, "Are you Republican, bro?" I have a feeling he'd be like, "What?"
Well, he doesn't live in America, so
exactly.
He literally is
that's
not
why
either.
I'm saying it.
But that right wing new meme style, that new subculture that's been created, it's mostly hedonism too, and so you're not really safe just because you're on one side of the political aisle.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, like, I'm sorry, like, MTG, all right? I know we've all bashed on AOC for years, but MTG.
It's RGB and MJT. Or MTJ.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, shoot. I just made an idiot of myself.
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering is MTG, and so is Marjorie Taylor Greene. You're right. I went to correct you.
Magic the Gathering
I
is
was the idiot.
Magic the Gathering is probably satanic, though.
How did we miss talking about D&D with Satanism? Dang it. Okay, we'll have to try that.
Dude, my mom actually asked me. She sat me down and asked me with concern about Magic the Gathering when I brought home my first deck of cards from junior high. And she was like, well, what do the kids do when they play? And she wasn't doing the full-blown break in the albums in front of me, but she was asking some serious questions coming from a place of love. Now, she was surrounded by teachers that had gone to a very Christian university in our neighborhood that I think were a little bit more part of the moral panic of the 1980s than she was. You know what I'm saying? But it was pretty funny. I did get asked by my mom about Magic the Gathering cards, so I'm sure you got asked about your D&D, dog.
No, but back to Quaker's point on the...
She gave this speech about returning to... you can watch the speech. It's not one of those where it was misinterpreted. Like, I listened to it and I was like, I mean... she's like, we need to return to our Anglo-Saxon roots, and the whole thing was
What?
go listen to it.
I don't believe it.
I know you don't believe it.
There's no way.
Look, Cardin, I know
Marjorie
Cardin-
Taylor Greene literally said,
Though-
we need to
Yes!
return to our Anglo-Saxon roots.
Garden,
Yes.
I think you might have a blind spot.
You have a
Dog,
blind spot. I
show
get
me
that you
link.
lived. Look, I get it.
Show
I
me
get
that
it.
transcript.
I get you lived in LA County, and so you've been attacked by the crazy left, but the crazy right also does exist. She also.
Show me
does.
that link.
It does.
Because I heard people say
Carter,
that,
we're talking
you
about
know,
the same woman who cheated on her husband with a gym trainer.
Shut up, Marjorie. She's not even that hot.
That should not be the first thing you say. Oh, okay. Jeez. Okay. The point. My point has been made. I don't know what else to say.
No, you're right. You're right.
The thing-
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the right has issues, and you got to be careful.
It is a spiritual issue, not a political one. If you are becoming
Correct.
narcissistic on either end of the spectrum, you won't be protected by being a Democrat or a Republican.
And when you go far into the Crowleyism, where this leads, both sides are at Bohemian Grove. Both Republicans and Democrats are at Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, it's just like 90-10.
And who is the former
I'm
congressman?
sorry, Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book was heavily trending Democrat.
I'm not-
I'm
yes.
sorry, dog. Like, I
And-
get there's both sidesism. Like, I totally get that. But if there were a scoreboard in Jeffrey Epstein's little Black Book, it'd be like 70-30.
Well,
80-20.
they have more satanic pedophiles in their ring than we have in. Oh, yeah, great, wonderful. You won that
Okay.
battle. Who is the guy in the former congressman in the wheelchair who?
Madison Cawthorn.
Yeah, remember? He had a great approval rating until suddenly he does a podcast. He's like, yeah, and I get invited to these weird orgies with Republicans who are married with kids and they're doing this weird satanic stuff. And a week later, the whole GOP turns on that
And
guy.
then suddenly we're not talking about that anymore? What the freak is going
So
on?
yeah, it is some sketchy stuff. It's some
Hey, look,
sketchy
dude,
stuff.
you're not seeing. Dude, I'm not some Republican stan here. I'm not.
I
here
don't
to
know,
bear
you
my
certainly
testimony.
seem that way.
No, I am committed.
When our guys sacrifice children to the owl in Northern California, it's not as bad as when they do it.
because they do it wearing a Ronald Reagan shirt. You know. That's it. So here's the deal. Any political party that has become a false idol to somebody has now introduced a spiritual stumbling block into their lives. I've said that from the very beginning. And I challenge anybody to find a podcaster that has served political office as a Republican while simultaneously the year before, or was it the year after? I can't remember, but they're both in the 20 teens. Having the #1 Andrew Yang channel advocating for universal basic income in America paid for by a value-added tax. Okay, so like my credentials as an independent thinker politically are more settled science
We know.
than anybody you know.
We
okay?
know you've just
So-
sometimes in certain episodes you'll maybe cast that into doubt. So
Just
now it's good
because
to reiterate.
because I'm not willing to believe that Donald Trump endorsed white supremacy and that Marjorie Taylor Greene literally said we need to return to our Anglo-Saxon
If you ever
roots.
need to-
if she ever said that, it would be on loop at CNN and the only thing you ever heard of.
It was. If you ever need to distract Cardin, if he's ever like a security guard at a bank, just say Republicans are just as bad, and he'll be like, "What? Let me tell you something. I live in LA," and they'll easily steal all the money.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Ronald Reagan said, as the people are like walking around with the satchels, and then the ink tags explode once they reach the door. I'm like, whoa, what happened? Okay, Dan, where can people find you if they want to email you or get to read more of your stuff? Where can they find you, dog?
I write for Public Square sometimes, and I have my own YouTube channel, Latter Day Presentations. That's it.
And it's really solid stuff on Latter-day Presentations.
It's
Yeah.
boring.
And
It's boring.
but it's needed. No, Dan, you say it's boring, but it's information packed and educational in a way that is very necessary.
And by the way,
Good.
you want to know what else is boring, Dan?
What?
Working out, lifting weights, jogging, spiritual improvement, physical improvement, every single thing worth it in your life is
Yes.
unglamorous and boring, except for at the end when all of the boring pays off. So you want to know what? We'll help you get a little bit less boring. I helped Jacob Hansen get the lighting in his podcast right. He used to look like Bela Lugosi in Dracula like only 6 months ago until literally over the phone, I told him, I said, look, dog, move this light here, put this light there, put this gel here. Okay, don't uplight yourself. We'll help you out however we can so it's slightly less boring. But let me tell you, If your stuff is worth reading, it's worth reading, full stop. There are no small gigs. There are no boring information sources out there. Actually, that's not true. There are. Anyway, this is Midnight Mormons. See you in the next program. Hey guys, Cardinal Ellis here. Thanks for watching our show. Before you go to our next video, I want to take care of a couple of things. First, could you please make sure that you are subscribed to this channel? And before you move on, if you're already subscribed, please make sure that you've also clicked on the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you are, quote, notified of all of our postings. If you don't click on that bell, you may only see an occasional upload of ours. And we make about 3 to 5 videos a week, so please make sure you are subscribed and notified of all of our postings on our channel. Also, if you could please share this with a friend, with a family member, with a coworker. All you have to simply do is press that share button and then SMS text it or email the link to one of your friends and say, hey, I thought this was funny. What did you think? And it's going to help our channel grow even that much more. Through the analytics, I see that about 41 to 50% of you, depending on the video, don't have YouTube accounts yet or are not subscribed to our channel. You're simply looking us up in the search functions, and though that is flattering that we are being sought out by so many different people, it will help us and it will help you get all of our content if you can make sure that you are subscribed and notified to our channel. Also, if you have yet to press that like button, please smash the like button. That also helps us out a ton as well. Thank you for participating in our channel. We'll see you in the next program.